The Securities and Exchange Commission is set to host the 2020 edition of its annual budget seminar with the theme, Leveraging the 2020 Budget and Finance Act for the Growth of the Nigerian Capital Market. Well, joining me now is the Head Office of the Chief Economist, Securities and Exchange Commission, Oke Umano. Thank you for coming on the show, Mr. Umano. Despite that heavy traffic on our road, I hope you didn't find it so difficult getting here.
I guess we have to put up with it. It's okay.
Anyway, you're welcome. Well, can you talk us through what informed this idea of seminar at this time, and what are the key objectives you're seeking to achieve?
Okay, thank you, Chimeze. For a few years, the SEC has had these seminars where we come, sit, and look at the budgets for each year to look at how they affect the capital market, the impact of the budget on the capital market. And this year's one is even more interesting because we have the Finance Act also to discuss and its effects on the capital market. So we are gathering tomorrow, ourselves, the SEC, and the entire market, and other stakeholders in the Nigerian capital market to really look at these two documents, these two laws, the Finance Act and the budget, and look at how they impact us and what we need to do to get the best out of them.
Now, the 2020 budget was approved early, for the first time this year. What, in your views, are the key roles of the capital market on leveraging this budget, for the growth of the Nigerian economy, in the light of this new Finance Act?
Yeah, of course, the capital market plays a huge role in the development of any economy. We are seeing a lot of deficit in terms of infrastructure and things like that. Our budget can really not give us the amount of infrastructure we need as a country. And the capital market is there. The capital market is able to meet this gap if we leverage it the right way. So the Finance Act also has made it a bit easier. There are certain things in the Finance Act that have made it easy, like the provisions made for the real estate investment companies, for securities lending, and other issues like that. So the capital market will be able to contribute much more with this budget and Finance Act. So we're excited about them.
Now, the post-recession of 2016, that's the pace of recovery and growth. After that has been quite slow. In what ways can the capital market assist in increasing the pace of economic recovery, perhaps to the double digits that we're talking about?
Okay, the capital market has a big role to play. Like, the capital market is a place where companies can raise funds for their activities. So when companies have positive NPV projects they want to pursue, the capital market is there for them to get the funding from. Last year, we had some problems in that there was a lot of crowding out of the corporates from the debt market because of the high yields of government yields, government securities. But now we are seeing that those yields are pacing down, and we are seeing flows back into the equities market. We are seeing activity in the corporate bond sector. So companies are now able to borrow, and when they borrow, they're able to do more projects, they're able to make more investments, they're able to employ more people. The economy, the GDP grows as a result. So that's the contribution of the capital market. And the SEC is doing a lot. We have rules in place that have made it easier for issues. I mean, one of them is that we have made the time to market much lower. It's faster now for people to file for issues, whether equities issues or bond issues. Corporates can now file, and we've made the time to market much shorter. So people can actually raise funds quickly.
Okay. Yeah. Now, the issue of climate change has been like a global issue. How is the Securities and Exchange Commission trying to encourage companies listed on the exchange to actually tilt towards that, towards reducing some of these emissions we're talking about?
Yeah. We are doing a lot in terms of sustainable finance. We have started supporting the Green Bond Initiative. We have made the rules easy. We have made it easy for companies to issue green bonds. Yeah, of course, you know the green bonds are bonds that are financing that is raised for activities that support the environment. And also we have come up with a blueprint for the market in terms of sustainable finance. In fact, we are going to be talking about that in an event in a couple of weeks or so. We're going to roll out that blueprint for the market. So, yeah, that's an area where we're working hard on.
All right, now the budget seminar that you are organizing tomorrow, what informed your choice of panelists? Because I see quite a number of panelists there. What informed the choice of panelists to feature?
Yeah, each time we have the budget seminar, we want as wide a stakeholder group as possible. So this time around, we have people from the academia. We have someone from the academia. We have someone from we have people, of course, from governments, the budget makers. We have people from the capital market side. We have people from the corporate side. It's important that whenever we have these discussions, we try to bring everybody around so that we get different perspectives. So we want to ensure that we get everybody's point of view concerning the budget and the Finance Act and how the capital market can plug into them. So that's what informed it. So tomorrow's event is going to be a good one because all perspectives will be covered and all points of view will be covered.
And would you say that the Nigeria's national budget, has any connection to the country's growth story?
Yeah, it does. For a country like Nigeria, we really cannot take away government from... the budget is just about 6.58% of the GDP, but it's still important because the budget serves as a pointer to what government wants to do. It sort of signals to the corporate or to the real sector what the new year will be like. So as a signal, I think it's very important, even though it forms a small part of the GDP.
And in what ways will this seminar appraise, the relationship? Okay,
so this seminar is going to expose the effects of this budget. We're going to be looking at the merits and the demerits. So we're not just going to look at the positives. We're going to look at the opportunities in the budget and the risks that arise from this budget and how they affect us as a capital market, how they affect the corporates, the manufacturing sector, the mining sector, and all other sectors of the economy. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow.
Okay. Now, we know that over time we've had issues with budget preparation and, of course, implementation. So what, in your view, how can the capital market operators contribute to the process of budget preparation and, of course, ensuring implementation? Yeah,
it's important that in preparing budgets, that the capital market is carried along. Because at the end of the day, or many a time, let me say, the deficits from these budgets, part of them are funded from the capital market. For instance, the budget we are talking about, the 2020 budget, has a 2.2 trillion deficit. And part of that will be funded from the capital market. So it's important that the market is carried along whenever these budgets are made. It's important also that the corporates, I mean the companies who produce, who form a large chunk of the GDP of the country are carried along. And I think that the Budget Office has been doing a bit of that, but we encourage that they do more so that at the end of the day, the budget is a win-win for everyone.
Okay. And what do you hope would be the key takeaway from this?
The takeaway will be that we will all know how these two documents affect us. I mean, the Budget Act and the Finance Act. We will also know how to respond. So we'll be making a lot of... we'll be laying emphasis on opportunities that come from them and risks. So we're going to make sure we grab the opportunities and ensure that the risks don't put us down.
Yeah, so are you seeking to produce a communique that
could of course.
Serve as...
Yeah, there will be a communique at the end of the event, and then we'll hope to share it with people like yourselves.
Well, of course, this is... it seemed to have become an annual forum. This is the fourth edition. So how would you say that the past recommendations have been properly implemented?
They have been. In fact, just coming in here, I was looking at the recommendations we had from 2019. One of the things we said was that the capital market should be carried along in things like this. And the capital market was carried along. If you look at the Finance Act, for instance, securities lending, taxes on securities lending have been dropped. Like I mentioned, the real estate investment trust and things. It's because the capital market community was involved, you know, in the Finance Act and in the budget. So I think that we've started and it's going well. We think that the impact of these budget seminars is being felt. And we think that impact will continue to increase as we go.
All right. Well, the NSE seemed to be set to dematerialize, to go public.
Yeah.
As the regulator, what is your take, and how would you ensure that this process goes smoothly? Okay,
so that's best practice. That's best international practice. When the demutualization means that they become a company, they are now, corporate governance will be better, they will be better managed. I mean, the NSE can even be listed, will even be listed on an exchange, and people can buy the stocks and all that. So this is a good development. If you look at other exchanges around the world, the biggest exchanges around the world, they are not mutual companies. They are companies, they are PLCs that people can invest in. This gives Nigerians the opportunity to actually invest in the exchange, to share in the success story of the exchange. So it's a good thing, and the regulator, the SEC, supports it fully. So we are behind them.
All right. Just like we threw that question to our first guest there, that this demutualization issue has been there for long. We've talked about it over and over. How are we sure that this time it's going to come through?
Yeah, it's coming. It's going to come through because everything is now in place. We now are going to have Nigeria Exchange PLC. So it's coming through this time around, and we're happy about that.
Okay. So can you give us your outlook for capital markets development in 2020?
It's a very optimistic outlook. Like I said, last year we had some crowding out because of the high yields on government debt. And now those yields are pacing down, and we are seeing flows coming back. Also, we had some drawdowns from the foreign investors because they were scared. It was an election year. But we see some of those monies coming back into the market. So we are very optimistic. If you look at the equities market, for instance, you see that a lot of the companies are actually undervalued. They are undervalued as we speak. So we believe that valuations will come up. And we believe that also the risk sentiments, the sentiments in the market will improve this year. So we are very optimistic about 2020. If you remember, in 2017, we had we were the best performing. We had the best performing equities market in the world. So it was only natural that we'll have a bit of drawdown in 2018 and 2019. But we think that the bulls will rule in 2020.
Do you see any challenges?
That's well, of course there will always be challenges. But I want to assure you that the regulator is doing a lot to have a clean market. A market with where everyone has a level playing field, a market where investors are protected. We think that with all these in place, investors can trade in the market and profitably too.
All right. Thank you for your time. Okay.
Thank you very much for having me.